Welcome to Chanu's Dream TV, the place where wonder begins and imagination takes flight. Here, every story is a key, unlocking the door to curiosity, kindness, and the courage to ask questions. In a world that rushes to give answers, we slow down, breathe, and honor the beauty of curiosity. Because when children begin to wonder, the world becomes infinite. Today's tale is about a little girl and a magical backpack that didn't carry books or pencils, but questions. Questions that opened the universe. So, close your eyes, settle into your cozy little world, and listen with your heart to this tale, The Backpack of Curiosity. Ria was a little girl who lived in a town where everything looked the same. Rows of buildings, tidy gardens, clean streets, and people who always seemed to be in a hurry. Every morning, children rushed to school with heavy backpacks, their eyes glued to timetables, their ears filled with reminders to be fast, smart, and quiet. But Ria was different. She wasn't fast, she wasn't loud, and she was never quiet in her mind. Her eyes sparkled when she saw a butterfly land on a fence, or when a puddle reflected the pink clouds above. She was always asking, why? Why do leaves fall? Why does the moon follow us when we walk? Why do shadows grow long in the evening? Most people would smile and say, because that's how it is. But that was never enough for Ria. Her parents, Mira and Odicha, loved her dearly. They would answer as best they could, but sometimes they were too tired or distracted. One morning, while tying her shoelaces, Ria asked, Oma, do worms have birthdays? Her mother paused, laughed softly, and said, I don't know, Kanna. Maybe, ask your teacher. But at school, the teacher only had time for tests and textbooks. Ria's questions floated in the air, unanswered. Still, she kept asking them, writing them in the back of her notebook, whispering them to the sky, hiding them like treasures beneath her pillow. Then came the day everything changed. It was the first day of the school holidays. Ria's parents were both at work, and her grandmother had come to stay. Amama was full of stories of trees that could sing, rivers that remembered, and stars that whispered secrets to those who stayed up late enough. That afternoon, as sunlight poured like gold into Ria's bedroom, Amama called her softly and said, Come here, Ria, I have something for you. From behind her sari's folds, she pulled out a dusty, faded backpack. It was unlike any backpack Ria had ever seen. It wasn't made of nylon or leather. It looked like it was stitched from clouds and starlight. The color kept changing, sometimes blue, sometimes green, sometimes the soft gray of early dawn. Its zippers had tiny symbols etched into them, moons, spirals, eyes, and question marks. Ria's eyes widened. Whose is this? Amama smiled mysteriously. This backpack has belonged to children who dared to ask big questions. It listens to your wonder, and in return, it whispers back. Ria held it gently. But it's just a backpack. Amama winked. Try it on. She did. And in that moment, she heard a soft voice. Not from outside, but from inside the backpack. Are you ready to wonder, Ria? Ria gasped and looked around. No one else had heard it. The backpack whispered again. Let's begin! From that day, Ria was never the same. Every time she looked at something with genuine curiosity, the backpack would whisper a question in her ear. One that unlocked a story, a discovery, a secret of the universe. The first time it happened, she was in the garden, watching a bee move from one flower to another. The backpack stirred. Why do bees visit flowers? Ria whispered. I don't know. The backpack replied gently. Then let's find out. And just like that, the flowers around her shimmered for a moment, and a tiny bee buzzed close to her ear, speaking in a tiny, polite voice. We collect nectar to make honey. But while we do that, we carry pollen from one flower to another. That helps the plants make seeds. We feed ourselves, and we help the world grow. Ria stared in awe. So you help flowers have babies? The bee laughed. In a way, yes. From then on, the world was no longer ordinary. The next day, she stared at the sky. At dusk, stars blinked into view like shy diamonds. She asked aloud, why do stars twinkle? The backpack hummed. That's a good question. A twinkle of light floated down from the sky and landed in her hand. It shaped itself into a tiny, glowing figure. A starlet. We stars burn steadily, it said, but Earth's atmosphere is full of air and movement. As our light travels to you, it bends and dances. That's why we seem to twinkle, like light through water. Exactly, Rhea giggled. So it's the air that makes you sparkle. Everything beautiful is a dance of what is, and what seems to be, said the starlet, and vanished. Every day became a new adventure. The backpack never gave answers directly. It gave questions, and the questions opened doors. One day, at the breakfast table, Rhea stared at a boiled egg. Why are eggs oval and not square? The backpack giggled. What do you think? Rhea shrugged, so they don't roll away. Maybe, it said. Or maybe nature likes soft shapes. She began drawing shapes and noticing them everywhere. The spiral of a snail's shell, the symmetry of a flower, the fractals of ferns. Her notebook filled with sketches, arrows, and scribbles of wonder. She called it her book of beautiful questions. Sometimes, she asked very big questions. Why do people cry? The backpack was silent for a moment, then whispered, because hearts speak in water when words are too small. Rhea didn't fully understand, but it made her eyes fill with tears anyway. Other times, she asked funny questions. Do trees itch when birds walk on them? Do fish ever get bored of swimming? Do clouds ever want to be alone? Each time the backpack would not laugh at her. It would say, that's a wise question. And Rhea would smile, because, in a world that rushed to be clever, she was learning to be deeply curious. But curiosity, like all superpowers, has its trials. One day, at the park, she was playing with a group of children when one of them laughed at her. Why are you always talking to your backpack? That's weird. Another said, yeah, why don't you just play like normal kids? Rhea froze. For a moment, she wondered if she was strange. She looked at her magical backpack, which had been her friend and guide. It had never made her feel lonely before. But now, standing in a circle of children with mocking eyes, she felt small. That night, she told Amama, maybe I should stop asking questions. Maybe I should just be like everyone else. Amama hugged her. But Rhea, do you know why people fear questions? Why? Because questions are seeds. They grow into trees of truth. And not everyone is ready for truth. Some are still comfortable under old shadows. Rhea looked up. So, I should still ask. Always. Even if no one answers right away. Even if some laugh. Even if the world tries to silence you. Because every great discovery, every invention, every poem, every healing, it all began with someone asking, what if? That night, the backpack glowed softly by her bedside. I'm proud of you, it whispered. The next morning, Rhea returned to the park. She smiled at the kids who teased her, but instead of hiding her backpack, she said, want to try it? They looked unsure. It asks questions, she said. One curious boy stepped forward. Like what? Rhea touched a leaf. Why do leaves change color? The backpack hummed. The leaf shimmered, and the soft voice explained how chlorophyll fades and other pigments take over in autumn. The children gasped. More questions followed. Why does ice float? Why do dogs sniff everything? Why do our hiccups sound funny? By evening, the whole group was asking questions, and listening, and laughing. Rhea sat quietly, smiling. Her backpack sat beside her, glowing like a small sun. Over time, Rhea's book of beautiful questions grew into volumes. She shared them with her classmates. Her school started a wonder wall, where students could pin questions they were too shy to ask aloud. Teachers began their lessons with, what would you like to know today? Curiosity was catching on. Rhea grew older, but she never outgrew the backpack, or the questions. She once stood by the sea, and whispered, what makes people feel at peace, near waves? And the sea replied, because I hold all the questions that cannot be answered. And yet, I do not panic. I just sing. Eventually, Rhea became a teacher, but not the kind who talks endlessly. She was the kind who listened, who paused, who asked her students, what made you wonder today? She wore the backpack still a little faded now, but still whispering. One afternoon, a little girl stayed back after class, and said, Ma'am, sometimes I think too much. My friends tell me I ask weird questions. Rhea smiled. Like what? Like, what do books dream about when the library is closed? Rhea bent down, looked into her eyes, and said, that's not weird, that's beautiful. Never stop asking. The girl blinked. Promise, promise. And for a moment, Rhea heard the backpack whisper softly, that's my girl. And so the journey of questions continued. Because, when you carry curiosity like a backpack, Every step becomes a discovery, every stone, a story, and every day, a doorway. Thank you, dear friends, for walking with us through the magical tale of the Backpack of Curiosity. Here at Chenu's Dream TV, we believe that every question has a heartbeat, that inside the tiniest why lies the power to change the world. So go ahead, ask, wonder, observe. Be bold in your curiosity, because some backpacks carry books, but some carry galaxies. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep listening for the whispers of wonder around you.